Hey YouTube, how's it going? I'll tell you what, got some good news and some bad news. And you know, the one goes with the other. But I'm going to start out with the good news because it's pretty cool. Literally. This afternoon, a thunderstorm came through the area. And the temperature went from 95 degrees to 75 degrees in the space of about 15 minutes. That was awesome. And what's really awesome is that while after the storm was over, and the last of it blew out of the area about an hour and a half or so later, temperature did go back up a little bit, but it was close enough to the end of day at sunset that it didn't go up very long or very high or stay there for very long. And right now, at about 5 minutes to midnight, it is about 75 degrees outside, which means it's about 80 degrees inside. What are you going to do about that without an air conditioner that works? But at the very least, it's allowed me to turn my fan down to low speed so that it's not roaring in the background quite so bad. And so on. That was great. I actually got some good rest this afternoon during that cooler period of time, because I didn't get hardly any sleep the night before because it was just so bleeding hot all night. I mean, at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was still almost 90 degrees. And it was insane. It's like all you can do is sit there in front of the fan and wipe your face with a cold rag every now and then and drink lots of cold water and stuff like that. And after a while, you don't want any more water because you drank so much cold water that you feel bloated as all get out. And like you're going to burst or make sloshing noises when you walk. Yeah, I think that actually happens sometimes. But anyway, onward. The bad news comes in several parts and in differing degrees. Like, for example, and I knew this one was coming. I have known it was coming for months. For the last 5 or 6 months, I think, I have been very, very miserly with my use of hot water. Because my hot water heater, as I'm sure many of you know, is powered by propane. And my supply, of course, was extremely limited. And so I got really cheap on using hot water. I didn't use it unless I absolutely had to. I kept the use of it down to an absolute minimum, trying to stretch the propane supply as long as possible. The fact that the hot water heater was replaced last year means it's a newer, more efficient model, and it lasted a lot longer than I expected it to, really, to be honest with you. But today, earlier this morning, the last bit of hot water was used up. And there ain't going to be any more until I can figure out a way to come up with the what is it, $400 or $500 it costs to refill that propane tank? Ugh. Anyway, so that's the one bad news. Still don't know the answer to what I'm going to do about that, but I'll figure something out one way or another eventually. Maybe, I hope. Anyway, then there was another little thing. Because of the cool weather, I took advantage of that, like I said, and spent some time sleeping and getting some actual rest. You know, it's kind of nice to not wake up drowning in sweat and so on, and actually be able to get some rest when you go to sleep, because it's very hard to do that when it's hot. And so I got some rest. I woke up and I noticed a little problem. Additional numbness in my right hand. Now, at first, I attributed this to the position I was sleeping in. I may have easily pinched off some circulation and whatnot, because I've done that countless times in my life, and it's something I'm used to, so no big deal. But here it's about 5 or 6 hours later, and it hasn't gone away. The numbness, the additional numbness in my right hand has not gone away. And after that amount of time, if it was because of sleeping bad or in a bad position or whatever, the kind of thing where you cut the circulation off or whatever, if it was because of that, it would have cleared up by now. It would have cleared up hours ago. That tells me that it's not sleeping position related, but it's this diabetic thing related, which means that numbness is probably never going to go away. And one can only hope and pray that it doesn't spread any further. And so on, and that just brings me back around to this whole medical thing. Somebody's going to say, well, you ought to go see a doctor. I'd like to. I've tried to. But the doctor's office will not allow me to make an appointment until I pay them, like, I forget exactly, $200 or $300 worth of money to cover old co-pays that I hadn't been able to pay in the past. I have to come up with that before they will allow me to make an appointment to see the doc. There's something wrong with that? Better damn believe it, there's something wrong with that. But what are you going to do? This is a small town. There are not very many, if any, alternatives. And so, well, there's that. Of course, once I do get to see the doc, I have to come up with co-pays for each visit. I have to come up with co-pays for prescriptions that he's going to write. And I know from past experience that those prescriptions are going to be the kind of thing, you know, these insulin things are not cheap. Diabetic testing supplies are not cheap, and they're not free anymore either. There was a time I could get that stuff for free. Not anymore. Coincidentally, the availability of that kind of testing supplies for free disappeared about 2 or 3 months after Obama was elected. I'm not going to say he's at fault, but coincidence, I don't believe in. Anyway, politics aside, to pay for prescriptions and testing supplies and so on and so forth, I can easily see having to come up with 50 or 60 bucks a month or more, plus another 20 or 30 for a copay for the doctor visit. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I don't know how in the world I'm going to do that, just like I don't know how in the world I'm going to put propane in the tank to have hot water. And yes, it's true, I can heat up hot water on the stove, but you know something, I've done that, I've lived like that before. A year or two ago, I had the same problem happen. And let me tell you something, that's not as effective as you might think. And getting anything clean and grease and sweat free without the use of hot water, that just almost doesn't happen. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what's going on, and this whole thing has got me, I don't know if it's a cross between down and one just plain really seriously worried. And by seriously worried, let me underscore it. I can honestly and truthfully say that I am not afraid of any human being on the face of this earth. I fear no man. But this diabetic thing has got me, well, let's just say, excessively concerned is a good toned down version of what I'm actually thinking about. Yeah. Anyway, I've already rattled on longer than I should have. I should probably edit the daylights out of this thing and cut half of it out, but I'm not gonna. And for those of you that are still watching, thank you. I appreciate it. They needed somebody to talk to. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I'm out here. And thanks for listening.
Mr. TinFoilChef.